Welcome into Sportsmemo's betting podcast, NBA, every game on the board. Plus, we're going to do a couple college games for the Thursday night card with our basketball expert. He's hot, 71% in the NBA, 67% in college basketball. 2.5-week run here. Mr. Teddy Covers, feeling good, hot on, and welcome into the podcast.
Hey, great to be here, man. It's been a good January. No question about it. 3-0 sweep again last night, and all right side. So it wasn't like you were sweating, except the Pistons tried to blow the game at New Orleans, but the Pelicans weren't good enough to take it. But pretty easy last night, and it's nice when they come that way. You know, you don't want the sweats. You don't want to lose 6 years off your life bringing home a game by a half point. But, again, 3-0 last night, 65% across all sports since, New Year's Eve. So it's been a pretty good run now, when we're into the third, fourth week of it. So see if we can keep it rolling again tonight, my friend, over at sportsmemo.com.
Absolutely. And guys, and Teddy, you had a heck of an NFL season as well, up over 60%. Any timetable on NFL release for the game, side or total, and your props package?
Yeah, we'll have it up well before the Super Bowl. That's my timetable. It'll be up as soon as I can get it up there that I'm comfortable with everything. And whether that's tomorrow, whether that's Monday, whether that's Tuesday, I can't tell you right now. We're still digging, particularly with the props. Obviously, a lot of the props come up today. So we like to put out the package all together. So we'll have that up again. If I don't have it up tomorrow, I'll have it up early next week.
Hey, that's fine, Teddy. Yeah, quality is definitely more important than timetable. I know the clients appreciate that. And guys, Teddy's a great option for the Super Bowl props package. He's been great with that. Also, NBA, college basketball on some heaters, knows what he's talking about. We'll get into every game on the board in the NBA, plus 2 major college basketball games for tonight's slate. And guys, coupon code for the podcast, 10 off. That's 10OFF at checkout for any daily play on the board, $10 off. Teddy has his 5%er up, and like he said, off a 3-0 day. So check that out at sportsmemo.com. Teddy, the NBA board, 8:05 Eastern, 5:05 Pacific time tip-off, 557, 558 at the top of the NBA betting card. Golden State at Washington, 235 the total. High totals here, Teddy, for tonight. 9.5 or 10 is what the Warriors are laying on the road.
Well, I mean, these totals are warranted when you're talking about Golden State right now. They've cashed 8 overs their last 10 ball games. And what they score? 132, 134, 127, 122, 146, 119, 142, 147, 112, and 130 in those ball games. Obviously, this is an offense that is clicking right now, and they've only gotten better since DeMarcus Cousins joined the rotation. Of course, Cousins not a huge impact yet, but he was starting center the other night. 21 minutes. And again, 2 of 9 shooting, 8 points, 9 boards, 5 assists, 4 fouls. It's not like they're relying on Cousins for everything right now. But when you're talking about putting an all-star in a starting lineup with 4 other all-stars, all of a sudden, this Warriors team, they look flat out scary. And I've got them power rated wise well ahead of anybody else in the NBA right now. And of course, we thought, all right, well, maybe there's some growing pains with Cousins on the floor. That has not been the case at all for Golden State. They have dominated the first 2 games with Cousins. And, of course, they're covering point spreads right now. Only 1 ATS defeat in their last 7 contests. Golden State, they've been great in the big chalk roll all year long. 13-4 ATS, laying double digits, only 9.5 here. Of course, when they haven't been laying doubles, they've been point spread disaster. And it's a Wizards team that I'm not expecting them to be able to beat Golden State, but from a point spread standpoint, John Wall got hurt, just like last year. Washington gets better. 8-3 against the number, their last 11. They have been an undervalued commodity. Thomas Satoransky, not Savransky, not me, not related to me, Satoransky, the backup point guard who is now the starting point guard without Wall. Looks fairly comfortable in that role. And the Wizards have been sneaky good ATS of late. Golden State coming off that emotional win against the Lakers squad they really wanted to beat. I don't know if they're going to be able to match that intensity here, but they're certainly not a team that I'm going to rush to stand in front of. All that being said, this point spread is a notch or two high compared to my priority number. I've got the Wizards above market, and that's why Washington hasn't been a money loser for me like so many that have been betting against the Wizards during this streak of solid play.
Teddy, second game on the slate, 559-560. New Orleans Pelicans go on the road, face Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City laying 12, 233 the total.
Yeah, and now it's 2 games for the Pelicans without Anthony Davis in the lineup. They scored 105 in the first. They scored 94 in the second, only the third time all year. They haven't gotten 290. Both those games flying under the total by 30, 40 points. When we think about New Orleans without Anthony Davis, they may not have Mirotic tonight either, who's been, a key offensive component for them. He got hurt, listed now as doubtful with a calf injury, not expected to shoot up here. You're talking about certain, not all their best offensive player. Holiday's been pretty good, but they're certainly losing with Davis an extraordinary offensive talent, and with Mirotic, who's not likely to play this evening, pretty good sharpshooter who's been a difference maker for them. Of course, New Orleans has not been good on the second of back-to-backs. They were not good losing at home last night to Detroit. Rallied back in the fourth, couldn't seal the deal when all was said and done. But again, you're scoring 94 points in the modern NBA. You're not going to win a whole lot of games and cover a whole lot of point spreads. The Thunder, 3 straight wins off of a rough little go there. They lost 5 out of 6. Their defensive numbers were way down. And then they had that nice win against they stole it against the Sixers at the end. Knocked off the Knicks and the Blazers in their last 2. Both good shooting. They were out rebounded by 15 against Portland the other night, but good shooting saved them in that contest. Defensively, the Oklahoma City team is nowhere near where they've been for most of the season. Their recent numbers are weak. They've allowed 50% shooting in their last 5 ball games, 39% from beyond the arc. They've been out rebounded by 5 boards a game. It's an OKC team that is not playing their best basketball right now by any stretch of the imagination. Then again, neither are the Pelicans.
Teddy, you bring up modern NBA and only scoring 94 points, and that's just not going to cut it. I want to ask you a question about the totals market, because I'm not in the NBA betting markets every day, checking out the numbers. Just not the sport that I spend most of the time on. But it seems like every time we do a podcast and I'm trying to immerse myself in it, I'm seeing totals in the 230s all the time, 220s. I mean, the next game is the lowest total in the whole night, and it's only 219.5. When did you see this get to this point in the totals? Because I can remember, 4 or 5 years ago, we were seeing totals under 200 all the time. I mean, was this a shift just this year? Was it last year, the year before? When did you see this real push towards these high totals?
Well, the market has been gradually moving in this direction for the better part of 2 decades now. I mean, we think back to the Knicks and the Rockets in the NBA Finals in, what was it, 94? Were the first team to 80 wins and, totals in the 160s, at the turn of the century. Those days have come and gone. Certainly when you talk about this season, the first 3 weeks of the season, there was a rule change in the offseason, a significant one when it came to resetting the shot clock after an offensive rebound. It used to reset to 24 seconds. Now it only resets to 14 seconds. So you see teams get in their offense a lot quicker after the offensive rebounds. And the impact of that rule change in particular was on display right from the get-go of the season. If you were betting overs the first 3 weeks of this NBA season, you did very, very well. Since that time, the markets have certainly caught up with where scoring has been, and you're seeing what you tend to see in the NBA long term, which is the unders and overs pretty close to 50-50 over the long term. But obviously, it's close to 50-50 because these totals are so much higher than they were. I'm just looking for the season. And, for the season, we're talking about, 50.6% overs. So it's not it has, the markets catch up. That's what they do.
And I'm guessing after the first 3 weeks, like you stated, it's probably under 50%, meaning if
I'm
you've been
sure.
betting on unders, you've probably been getting the better of it. Good stuff, Teddy. Thanks for explaining that, guys. Teddy's has his 5% play up in college basketball. He's off a 3-0 night, been good in both college and NBA, so check that out. And with the coupon code 10OFF, that's 10OFF at checkout, you can take $10 off of that, off of any play on sportsmemo.com. Brett Crow also has a 5% up there, and he's on a heater as well. So make sure to check out sportsmemo.com for your Thursday night betting card. We got 561, 562. Portland at Phoenix up next. Looks like Portland 7 or 6.5, depending where you're shopping. 219.5 or 220 the total, Teddy.
Yeah, the Suns are in the midst of another losing streak, 5 in a row. Returned home off a winless road trip where they had two 2-point losses and two blowout losses, 2 close games, 2 ugly games, and then returned home and had a pretty ugly game against Minnesota. So if the form remains the same, one bad, one good, one bad, one good, this is supposed to be a step-up spot for Phoenix off of that dismal showing. I don't trust the Suns to do a whole lot, this team, and especially when it comes to, if Phoenix has a lead early, if Phoenix has a lead at halftime, the teams that are playing for lottery picks are not teams that I want in the second half of these ball games. And the Suns team that's allowed 122 points on 48.5% shooting over their last 5 is not a team that I'm particularly interested in backing, especially being that they've been out-rebounded by 13 boards a game during this span. So you make a case for Portland here? Sure, you can make a case for the Blazers. You're not getting a cheap price to do it, but they've had plenty of straight-up and point spread success against this particular foe. You have Portland coming off a frustrating loss at OKC the other night, where they played poorly for stretches, made a run in the fourth, couldn't get the job done down the stretch of that contest. It's a nice bounce-back spot for a team that's bounced back pretty well, but on the other hand, the Blazers haven't exactly played their best basketball on the highway this season. We saw that the other night, and I question whether they're going to be able to bring the appropriate level of motivation, although nothing to look forward to here. Atlanta on deck for Portland, just a one game, or the final game of their road trip here before they return home to face the Hawks.
Guys, we get the get-back game, 10:35 Eastern tip, 7:35 Pacific tip, 5-6-3, 5-6-4, last NBA game on the slate. Then we'll hit the college card. Minnesota at the LA Lakers. Looks like the Timberwolves laying 1 on the highway, 230 the total.
Yeah, and Lakers are expected to get back Rajon Rondo tonight. They've lost Lonzo Ball. They looked hopeless with the point guard by committee without Ball or Rondo on the floor. They had Lance Stevenson out there for extended stretches in the loss to the Rockets in the game against the Warriors. The back-to-back tough losses for LA, a game in Houston where they thought they had it won and gave it away at the end, and then, of course, blown off their home floor by a Golden State. So Ball's out, LeBron's out, but they're getting Rondo back tonight, and that makes a big difference with the total. Okay, Ball is a push-the-pace point guard. Lakers have been running and gunning with him manning the floor all season long. Rondo's not. Rondo's a half-court guy. And when you can think about what the Lakers' totals have been and what the total is for this ball game, and you think about how Rondo's style and what the Lakers are looking to do in the half court with him on the floor, the total does appear a little bit high. That being said, the money's come a little bit to the over in this contest. Not sure yet how much Rondo we're going to see tonight, but when he's on the floor, I'm expecting the Lakers' pace to slow, potentially significantly.
Teddy, 34 and 18, 65% all sports the last 3.5 weeks, 71% in the NBA, 67% in college basketball the last 2.5 weeks, and he's got his 5% big ticket game of the week going tonight up at sportsmemo.com, and with the coupon code 10OFF at checkout, can take $10 off. Brent Crow's also got a 5%er up in college basketball. He's been hot. Bunch of other plays on the board. Check out sportsmemo.com. We got college basketball, gonna hit a couple games here. 6-17, 6-18, Teddy. Michigan State at Iowa, big one in the Big Ten. This one total getting hit towards the under 155 now, and it's also 5.5 with the Spartans laying on the road to a very skilled Iowa Hawkeyes team, Teddy?
Yeah, Iowa's making me money. They've been really good in recent weeks at beating the teams that they are supposed to beat. 5 straight wins for the Hawkeyes, who they beat in Nebraska. And Nebraska's pretty good. Northwestern's not that good. Ohio State's not that good. Penn State's not that good. Illinois is not that good. They've been beating up the dregs of a very competitive Big Ten conference. And when you get an opportunity to face the Northwesterns and the Illinois and the Penn States of the world, you've got to take advantage of those. Iowa has done that. This, however, a pretty big step up in class. And let's not forget, the Hawkeyes are 11-1 straight up at home, only 5-7 against the number. They've not been juggernauts on this floor by any stretch of the imagination. And boy, Sparty's hot right now, and we know how good this team is. Izzo's got them rolling, and when Izzo's teams get on one of those streaks, I have very little interest in stepping in front of Michigan State. They've looked pretty dominant over the course of the last few weeks. At home, on the road, doesn't seem to matter a whole lot. I can understand why the Spartans have taken money in this ball game. We're talking about, with bet down earlier. Now we're seeing it back up to 5.5 in many spots. Total wise seems a little bit high for a Michigan State game. Iowa wants to push that pace. I don't know if Spartan's going to let them do that, but certainly you can understand why Michigan State is the popular choice here, despite the fact that Ohio has played good basketball of late and good basketball at home. They're not the class in this matchup.
Yeah, you bring up the total kind of high for a Michigan State game. I think that's an interesting angle of this game, Teddy. I mean, Michigan State has held 4 of their last 6 opponents under 60 points, and Iowa goes up and down the court and can put the ball in the bucket. Are you in the camp where the team that wants to slow the game down can slow the game down more times than not, or you think the team that wants to push the pace can kind of control it?
When the team that's good wants to slow the pace down, they tend to be able to impose their will. Iowa's not getting transition buckets against Michigan State, certainly not transition buckets in bunches. So you would expect the Hawkeyes to have to execute their half-court sets if they're going to be successful straight up or against the spread this evening.
Good stuff, Teddy. We got 629, 630 up next. North Carolina State at Louisville, 155.5 or 156. The total looks like Louisville laying 4.5 at home.
Yeah, and when you look at the statistical profiles from these two teams, they're really comparable. You're not seeing a whole lot of edge, and you say, well, given that situation, and given that NC State, they're a 15-3 squad that's ranked in the top 20 in the country, boy. They seem like an attractive proposition. They beat Louisville last year and in fairly comfortable fashion, and they've proven the ability to win on the highway. We saw them go to Miami and get the win. We saw them win at Notre Dame in their last contest, and obviously they've taken money here. But you wonder a little bit. Louisville's last 3 games have been as good as anything I've seen from them all year. They blow out North Carolina. They blow out Georgia Tech. They beat up on BC. They didn't get the number. They were laying 10.5 against BC, only won by 10. Of course, if you shopped around, you probably got a push in that one. But you wonder if the switch has been flipped on for the Cardinals. Certainly from an offensive standpoint, this team's a notch or two better than Louisville in terms of offensive efficiency, 3-point shooting, everything but free throw shooting. Free throw shooting tends to matter a lot in this point spread range.
Absolutely, Teddy. And guys, his 5% plays up there at sportsmemo.com off a 3-0 night. Been great in college basketball, been great in the NBA. With the coupon code 10OFF at checkout, you can take $10 off. Teddy, anything you want the listeners to know about before we shut this podcast down?
I want them to know that I appreciate them listening. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to listen to me and Drew talk about hoops. Hopefully we gave you some good info, and hopefully you can use that to cash a few wagers this evening and beyond. Best of luck. Enjoy the games. We'll talk to you next time.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Best of luck with your bets. We'll be back tomorrow with the college basketball betting podcast. Thanks for tuning in.